guests, and audience, a very good afternoon to all of you present here. I extend a warm welcome to the 4th Sustainability Awards 2024-25 under the theme Glacier Preservation and Sustainable Water Management. Today, we gather here at Jacaranda Hall, Indian Habitat Center, to address one of the most critical issues of our time, water sustainability. I am Palak Verma, and I'm honored to be your MC for this event. As the world faces growing water challenges, glacier preservation has become more critical than ever. Glaciers serve as a natural reservoir, sustaining rivers and communities downstream. However, climate change is causing accelerated glacier melt, threatening water availability, ecosystems, and livelihoods. Recognizing this urgency, World Water Day 2025 focuses on glacier preservation and emphasizing the need for global action to protect these vital resources. In alignment with this year's theme, we are organizing the 4th Sustainability Awards to celebrate World Water Day 2025. We have a series of insightful and engaging sessions planned for you today. This event commences with high-level panel discussion on glacier preservation and sustainable water management. This will be followed by 4th Sustainability Award. As we officially begin this program, I welcome Mr. Anshuman Sir, Director, Water Resources Division, the Energy and Resources Institute, to deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Anshuman Sir is engaged with TERI for 27 years, working in water sector, and his expertise spans across areas such as integrated water resource management, water use efficiency, and water quality and quality assessments. Please give him a huge round of applause as we welcome him on the dais. We may welcome Dr. S.K. Sarkar, Distinguished Fellow, TERI, and former Secretary, Department of Personnel and Training, and Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, on the dais. Please give him a huge round of applause. We now welcome Dr. Bharat Lal Sir, Secretary General and Chief Executive Officer of National Human Rights Commission of India. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Palak. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, colleagues, and friends. Shri Bharat Lal ji, for his presence today. It's our honor, sir, for you to be here and attending this particular 4th edition of the Water Sustainability Awards. It's my privilege to welcome you all to the 4th Water Sustainability Award 2024-25, organized by the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI. Today's gathering on the eve of the World Water Day provides us with a timely opportunity to pause and reflect on one of the most pressing challenges of our time, which is safeguarding our water resources in the face of the climate change. Now, as my colleague told, the theme for this year is Glacier Preservation and Sustainable Water Management, which brings into sharp focus on often overlooked yet critical aspects of our water systems, which is the glaciers. Now, glaciers, often referred to as the water towers of the world, are really critical for sources of fresh water for millions of people, especially across our Himalayan region. And these majestic ice masses feed major rivers like our Ganga, Brahmaputra, Indus, supporting agriculture, hydropower, and drinking water needs of a vast population downstream. However, as was said, climate change is rapidly altering this delicate balance. Rising global temperatures are causing glaciers to retreat at unprecedented rates, leading to severe consequences from reduced long-term water availability to increased risks of glacial lake outburst, threatening both ecosystems and the human settlements. Now, there have been several studies, and I might just mention one from ICIMOD, which recently warned that the Himalayan glaciers could lose up to 2/3 of the ice by the end of this century if the current warming trends continue. Locally, the Chorabari Glacier near Kedarnath is a stark reminder of the potential devastation where rapid melting and extreme rainfall contributed to the 2013 disaster that claimed thousands of lives. Even internationally, too, the challenges are quite visible. I was looking at a report which actually has mentioned about the disappearance of the Iceland's Okiokul Glacier, the first glacier to be officially declared dead as a result of human-caused climate change. So it's obvious that addressing these challenges calls for a multi-pronged approach, strengthening scientific research and real-time glacier monitoring systems, along with investments in early warning systems, which hold tremendous value for vulnerable zones. Furthermore, sustainable land management and watershed management practices such as afforestation, catchment restoration, and promotion of efficient water use, water conservation, and traditional water harvesting, especially in the Himalayan region, can build resilience at the grassroots level. At the policy level, there is a growing momentum. Initiatives like National Mission for Sustaining the Himalayan Ecosystems under the India's National Action Plan on Climate Change reflects efforts to protect these fragile regions. Equally important is the international collaboration through transboundary dialogues, data sharing, and joint research, since rivers and glaciers do not recognize the political boundaries. So today's event is not just about honoring remarkable efforts in water sustainability, but also about strengthening our collective resolve to act by combining scientific innovation, traditional knowledge, community participation, and policy action. We look forward to the thought-provoking discussions ahead and hope they will inspire further action in this critical area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful words. Next, I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. S.K.S. Sarkar, sir, Distinguished Fellow, TERI, and former Secretary, Department of Personnel and Training and Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, for the introductory remarks. Dr. Sarkar is a retired IS officer, former Secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of Water Resources, with expertise in water governance, policy reforms, and public administration. He has contributed to key national initiatives in water management and administrative reforms. He has a doctorate in economics from the State University of New York, Stony Brook. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Distinguished guests, experts, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today is the World Water Day 2025. Not today, I think tomorrow, 22nd of March. And this year the theme is preserving glacier. As you know that this 2025 has been declared as a International Glacier Year. And this theme of this World Water Day is preserving glacier. It is a subject which is less talked about in many countries, including India. As Monsumar has briefly said, I will repeat a little bit. Glaciers are critical for human life. The melted water helps using as drinking water, essential for agriculture, industry, clean energy production, and ecosystems. So this is the uses of glacier. If glaciers melt rapidly, it causes uncertainty to water flows, impacting people and our planet. People living in mountain area are more prone to risk of flooding, landslides, avalanches, and people in the downstream areas are dependent on the water supply from the glacier. Glacier loss also contributes to the loss of biodiversity, particularly the endemic species, as well as loss of traditional ways of life. One very interesting fact which is little known is that the glaciers act as a long-term reservoir of pollutants, which is not known to many of us, like heavy metal, persistent organic pollutants POPs into the atmosphere. The meltwater carries contaminants to freshwater systems, adversely impacting drinking water sources and aquatic life. This fact not many of us are aware. The larger Himalayan region known as the third pole, they store about 12,000 cubic kilometer of water in the frozen state known as glacier. Rivers emerging from Indian Himalayan region account for 2/3 of total river flows in India, having source of Ganga, Brahmaputra, Barak, Meghna basin and the Indus rivers and its tributaries. The complex ecology of Indian Himalayan region implies an environment subjected to forest fires, landslides, glacial lake outburst floods and earthquakes. The IPCC forecast says that the average annual mean temperature will rise by 3 degrees centigrade in Indian Himalayan region by 2050. It will cause a tremendous problem for all of us, with the prospect of melting glaciers and more frequent glacial lake outburst floods. Rivers descending from Himalayas have high sediment loads, often results in unusable hydro dams due to siltation of reservoirs and turbines. Climate change is making predictability of river flows extremely uncertain. Rapid changes in land cover and land use and growing urban pressure and tourism are placing water resources under serious pressure. Springs, the lifetime of mountain people, have been phenomenal decline even in India. There is a water scarcity due to dying of springs and drying rivers. The value of ecosystem in Indian Himalayan region and environmental flows in rivers in these regions have been underplayed so far. We very little discuss on the subject. Flows in river must be viewed as constituted by water quantities and quality, energy content of flows, biodiversity and sediment budget. Research and data on glaciers, glacier melting and glacier retreat must be integrated with water related data for improved water management. The Geological Survey of India, they are doing a number of work. Geological Survey of India has undertaken national landslide susceptibility mapping of 420,000 square kilometer landslide prone area at 1:50,000 scale, which divides the area into zone according to the probability of occurrence. In fact, the more likely landslide location should be mapped at 1:10,000 or some even 1:1,000 scale. In India, there is a need for awareness generation on integrated river basin management to rejuvenate water potential. There is a more research on Himalayan glaciers is called for. Watershed management of energy utilities are essential. Assessment of geologic potential are essential. Capacity building is called for, and cooperative federalism is necessary in the existing context. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone for today's discussion. Now, it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Bharat Lal, the Secretary General and Chief Executive Officer of National Human Rights Commission of India. A former civil servant with over 3.5 decades of distinguished public service, he joined the civil services in July 1988. Prior to his current role, he served as a Director General of National Center for Good Governance, an autonomous institution under Government of India. Now, may I request Dr. Bharat Lal to deliver the keynote address. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Namaskar. Dr. S.K. Sarkar, Dr. Ansuman, Professor Gosan, Dr. Mathuria, and all other friends, colleagues. So first and foremost, on the eve of World Water Day, I extend my warm greetings to all of you. And let me put this way that except me, I think you all are most updated on water issues. So keep this thing in mind that so far as I am concerned, I think I am few years, my knowledge, my whatever information I have is a kind of, 4 or 5 years, 3 years back actually. But I think first and foremost, I would like to congratulate and compliment Dr. Sarkar and TERI for not only instituting this award, because in some way I was involved when it was being constituted actually at that time. But more importantly, I think one of the most important and premier institution in the country, which is keeping this flag high. And I think it is you all who have got interest in water sector, water sustainability, or governance, or management, or technology. You are taking it forward. And I think for this alone, you deserve a huge compliment, huge compliment, Today is also International Day of Forests. And as you all know that water and forests, I think, deep linkage. And it's very appropriate that you are organizing this meet today and honoring people basically from different sectors who are contributing very meaningfully in the whole water governance and whole water security in various dimensions. And for me, it is a privilege to be here. And thank you, sir, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be with you. As we all know, I think, as I said, and I mean it's not for fun actually. I really mean it that you all are most updated when it comes to this sector. But one thing, as a layperson, having little bit exposure to this sector, can say very, very easily that if on any issue, if there is a less talk, there could be 2 or 3 scenario. A, problem doesn't exist. Problem has been solved, so people are not talking about, I know that in Gujarat, in 90s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000, everybody will talk about water and water and water. In fact, almost more than 50% questions in the assembly will be focused only on water actually, So A, problem has been solved, so it is no more an issue, so there could not be, lot of talk about that, Or the second option could be that yes, you have spoken about it, you have talked about it, and some good work is going on, and people are focused on work, so that is happening. But third most important part is that yes, this silence or this kind of period basically is for consolidation and preparing ourselves for something bigger. As far as I am concerned, I don't think that any of us can say that water sector issues stands resolved or solved or water security has been achieved. It is work in motion. But more importantly is that we all have to work together to achieve something. And the achieve something is very sure that is water security. In fact, here many of you are here. In fact, in 2018-19, actually, I have seen very closely when NGT passed that order that groundwater extraction in dark zone was prohibited. And I have seen it from very close quarter what kind of disruption it brought, not only for socioeconomic or let's say industry or but more importantly even for daily working in especially in Western India and south of Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, all those stages, and later on it was resolved. The point I'm trying to make is that sustainability is certainly a major issue. And as you all have seen, what I have seen in last 35, 36 years, that when we joined service and were working in Gujarat and came to Government of India, I think at that time it was felt that we have sufficient groundwater, and I think groundwater is the panacea of every problem we can sort out, whether it's irrigation or industry or drinking water. Everybody thought about that. But see the history, that groundwater, it came out that it also has certain pollution. It could be of geogenic origin or some, in certain parts, in certain areas, some other kind of industrial pollution or this thing. We also witnessed the paucity of groundwater, depleting groundwater, and disruption we have, But next phase, of course, technological solution. But more important was one policy change, that yes, participatory management. When water becomes everyone's business, groundwater need to be strengthened, and rainwater harvesting conservation, it came actually. And as you have seen, whether drinking water or irrigation, the participatory management basically became a kind of buzzword. But more importantly, it was realized that once which was considered like adequate, is a perennial source, the same groundwater, we all landed in trouble. And today, I think this year topic of World Water Day, theme of World Water Day, glacier preservation and sustainable water management, I think in my opinion, very timely, as we all are witnessing, we all are seeing that how glaciers melting and leading to different kind of challenges, problem, but more importantly in South Asia, when we have these three important, river basins, whether it's a Brahmaputra or Ganges or Indus, how critical and important it is. And I compliment Dr. Sarkar for taking up this topic, for sustainability award also, and for discussion and this thing. Because we all felt that I was born in Allahabad, now Prayagraj, So please appreciate the background. We never thought that water is scarcity. We just can't appreciate actually. What is this water scarcity? I didn't know till I reached Gujarat actually. And late 80s. When I reached Gujarat, then I realized, and especially it was post one of the greatest, scarcity of water in Western India actually. And in fact, 85, 86, 87, those were 3 years which Western India and Gujarat, faced that kind of situation. And today, I think Glacier, it is all facing the same kind of challenge. But unfortunately, knowledge and sensitivity about Glacier in society, maybe in government also, is inadequate. In fact, when I was part of the ministry and government, I was saying that Glacier we see only from, when there's going to be some kind of impending disaster. But we never thought about that, yes, Glacier is receding, it's melting, and there could be challenges in flow from people's perspective, from meeting people's need. And especially if you see the whole, in this, what we call third pole, Himalayas, if 2 billion people are dependent on this glacier. And imagine, think about northern India alone, forget about Indus part, think about Indo-Gangetic plain. This melting of glacier, this depletion, I think it has serious implication, and it need action right now. Because once damage is done, this most populous, most dense, most vibrant part of this country, I think can face challenges. So today actually I would like to sensitize you only on this aspect and compliment you that you have chosen a very right topic. It requires same kind of, please see the groundwater. In fact, allow me to see it from a different vantage point when I'm standing somewhere different, not part of the same system. That in last couple of decades, groundwater has been given huge importance, and it has led to certain kind of, all Remember 1994 watershed development scheme, integrated watershed development scheme, all those things came together and basically rainwater harvesting, artificial recharge, all these things started, see the water policy after that, all things started. Every scheme, every component, if you see in last 20 years actually, even Jal Jeevan Mission, primarily of course drinking water pipeline scheme, but sustainability key element actually. Take Amrit Sarovar Yojana, or Honorable Prime Minister's talk in every Mann Ki Baat, or everywhere, the kind of, has done that, I think the time has come that we should also focus on glaciers. Like Western India face part of Central and Southern India, but Western India faced problem vis-a-vis groundwater. I think the same challenge our Northern, Northeastern and Northwest. I think we are leading towards this kind of challenge. So that is one thing I would like to mention. The second part, which is more important for us about overall water security, as we understand that depletion of groundwater, pollution of surface water, insufficient water use, or I think abuse, whatever word you use in agriculture and industry also, I think, and of course, inequitable distribution. I identified these four challenges which requires sustained effort. And in this fifth, I would like to add this glacier management, that ensuring that the whole climate resilient action, the whole infrastructure, the whole approach. I think that need to be done. But let's not forget that collectively we have traveled a long distance. We have done a wonderful job. Government has done tremendous job if you see. But I think we have to travel a long distance when we can say that for socio-economic development and the kind of economic growth we want, the kind of SDGs goal we want to achieve, the kind of economic security which is linked with water security we want to achieve, I think still we have to travel long distance. And it must be ongoing effort, sustained effort. And I'm happy that I think everybody here who present here has that kind of interest. And one or two things I would like to point out that when I was in Jal Jeevan Mission, actually, that time we observed that this Himachal Pradesh started a lot of work basically, especially community-driven, community involvement actually in glacier management and traditional rainwater harvesting. In fact, there one proposal came, and we went out of way to this thing, because most of the villages, say 6,000 plus feet above actually, they had started facing acute water scarcity in 3-4 months actually. I started noticing that, imagine in this part, even in Ladakh, I had seen that in certain places, imagine that you have Indus system, you have glaciers, but they had started facing. But the best part was that the people themselves, they didn't wait for the government actually. People themselves just started, because they were facing the problem, they were there and they started initiating. Whether it's Himachal Pradesh or Ladakh, I think I had noticed at that point of time that people excited, and we complemented and supported. Under Jal Jeevan Mission, we supported in big way that to achieve water security should be achieved actually, that part should be done. Well, as we all know that it's a very good part in this country that at present I am in National Human Rights Commission. So please understand, I try to see things from different perspective. I have a different vantage point actually, and where basically, imagine availability of water, wholesome, or drinking water, or adequate water for all aspect of life, whether it's a drinking or domestic purpose, or basically livelihood, or for socio-economic development. So the good part is that, if you again will see, I am giving a context, that this country has developed beautiful system of the concept of public interest litigation. And imagine if you see the sequence, anybody on his or her own behalf, or on third person, or on community, can go to Supreme Court, highest court of the country, can file a public interest litigation, and for protection of people's right, and adequate quantity of water has been accepted as a fundamental right. It is considered as a basic human right, which National Human Rights Commission take. So this system which has been evolved, The system has been evolved that in this country, water availability, adequate water availability has become a right. This right-based approach. And B, that highest court of the country is able to enforce it, in fact, more than keen to enforce it. When it comes to pollution issues or depletion of water services, and I think we all here, we all remember that MC Mehta versus Government of India 1988 case, or thereafter Mr. Saurabh Kumar versus State of Bihar on pollution of, I think these are very important development, which has taken. Before I close, actually, two things I would like to point out, that recent initiatives, whether it's in Namami Gange, or Jal Jeevan Mission, or Swachh Bharat Mission, or Atal Bhujal Yojana, great first step. Great first step. But I think you know better than me that it requires sustained effort. To achieve sustainability, you require a sustained effort. And I think here is the role of people like you and TERI, actually, that we must keep this campaign going. We must keep this campaign going, that there should not be any let-up. Whether it's about the whole quantity of water, whether groundwater or surface water, pollution of water, or equitable distribution, or efficient use, I think it requires. And today, to me, challenge is much more. Today, challenge is much more because, very simple reason, that we are living in an aspirational society where basically we need that everything should be available, and available in plenty. Water also should be available and available in plenty. And I think we have not reached to that kind of consciousness that yes, I also have certain responsibility towards water, to ensure that other people are able to enjoy the same right which I'm trying to enjoy, or I'm enjoying. So I'm more bothered about my right. I'm bothered about that I should have clean water in my tap, adequate quantity, no shortage, everything is taken care of. But maybe somewhere, many of us basically forget that we also have certain duties, actually. I think this is here where TERI and people like you can also remind society that it is the public basically which has to, if it has to ensure that each and every one of us enjoys their right, I think we also have to perform our duty. Whether it could be vis-a-vis pollution, or it could be open defecation, or about river systems, or biggest is that misuse of water. Misuse of water, whether it's irrigation or industry or at domestic level, I think. So this part, I think we all have to take care of, this thing. Before I close, I think I must congratulate all awardees who have done meaningful work, very meaningful work, and which are going to be recognized today by this award, which is a very small contribution to basically encourage such these activities. And I'm thankful to TERI for taking this kind of initiative, encouraging industry, encouraging businesses, encouraging private players, encouraging NGOs and civil society to this kind of effort, and this thing. So once again, I congratulate TERI as well as all TERI officials for this beautiful work, this wonderful work, and wish you all very best. And I am pretty sure that as you have made groundwater management one of the topmost priority, as you have made river rejuvenation topmost priority, or let's take Clean India, or let's say clean tap water, I think time has come that we should equal focus towards glaciers and glacier management. It means the whole climate issue. The whole climate issue has become very important and will make meaningful contribution. And in this endeavor, I wish you all very best. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all very much. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. Now, celebrating this year's theme for World Water Day, we have a special panel discussion on glacier preservation and sustainable water management. The discussion brings together experts and policymakers to explore solutions. We request Shri Anshuman sir to please felicitate Dr. S.K. Sarkar sir and Dr. Bharatlal sir. Now, celebrating this year's theme for World Water Day, we have a special panel discussion on glacier preservation and sustainable water management. The discussion brings together experts and policymakers to explore solutions for safeguarding glaciers and ensuring long-term water security, and fostering collaborative efforts to develop long-term strategies for sustainable water management. It is my honor and utmost pleasure to invite Shri Rajiv Kumar Mittal, DG NMCG, who will be moderating today's discussion. Sir, we request you to please take a seat on the dais. Please give them a huge round of applause as I welcome our esteemed panelist, Professor A.K. Gosain, IIT Delhi, Water Resources and Climate Change Expert. Dr. Shresth Tayal, Head, Water Resource, DHI. Professor Milap Sharma, Center for Study of Regional Development, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Mr. D.P. Mathuria, Chief Engineer, Central Water Commission.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we are all set for a very interesting panel discussion with a very distinguished panel of experts with us. Just to set the context, we all know Himalayan glaciers are the major lifelines for our river systems. In fact, many rivers depend more on the glaciers than rainfall for their water. And these glaciers have been supporting livelihoods, agriculture, energy generation, and all sorts of human activities. And last but not the least, the ecology and the biodiversity, which also thrive because of them. However, we are observing that because of various factors, including anthropogenic pressures and climate changes, we are observing glacial retreat, altered flow of rivers, the phenomena of glacial lake outbursts, and even the water availability is getting impacted. In short, the problem is getting compounded and at times even scarier also. And addressing these kind of problems require a lot of research, a lot of technology, a lot of finances, a lot of reforms, and more important, community participation to take these issues forward. Today we have a very esteemed panel who will help us understand the current state of Himalayan glaciers, the risk posed by the climate change, and strategies we must adopt for their preservation. To have more insights, we will begin with a small presentation by Professor Milap to set the context right for all of us. Thank you.
Namaskar, good afternoon. I thought that seeing is believing. I work on the glaciers. I go every year, twice a year. So 45 years of my interaction with the glaciers. This is the first time after 23 that I have realized how much we are losing. Because the kind of measurements that we carry out in the field are, it shows how threatening it can become now. So I'll just piece together yearly, decadal, centennial I'm not going to show, but millennial a little bit I will show because I have been working on the millennial scale. Why did we adopt measurement, some technique of glaciological methods? Because we thought that the glaciers, we believed, show changes in the frontal area, as we say, retreat, which has a response time of maybe 100 years, 200 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,500 years. But what is happening with the accumulation area, how much we are losing in the accumulation area, that was our concern. So we went with glaciological methods to look at. And also we tried to look at black carbon and aerosol at the accumulation area, whether it reaches, because there have been talk that black carbon and aerosols are affecting the glaciers much more than temperature. And what management practices we can have for conserving glaciers if it's there, because we cannot preserve, we have to go in for conservation. So we'll see, this is annual. If you see annual changes, this is 2016, this is 2017. You don't see much changes. But if you look at decadal, you see the changes. This is where it is going. This is very fast, 6 meters of frontal. We were not worried about frontal because we thought the frontal has response time, as I said, 1,000 years for glaciers. But we did look at the thickness also, looking at the GPRs, how much ice is there, 70 meters of ice. This is a glacier which is 5 kilometers long, small glacier to handle. Then we checked at each of these areas. This is the accumulation area where we had done the glaciological mass balance. And GPR, if you see 70 meters thick, ice differentiation you can make. The top one is not crystallized properly, but the bottom one is. With all necessary techniques, globally established techniques, we try to look at, and all these were installed in 2017. I'll show you what has happened in 5 years' time. If you look at here, this boulder and this boulder, difference between these two, this boulder has gone. This ice is completely gone in 6 years' time. So this is in accumulation area. This is not ebullition. Glaciers, ice may form after 100 years of compaction and conversion from one form to another. 2017, 2023, you can make out. Ice was here, the accumulation area, ice is gone. And this is very, very fast. This much of ice we are losing. So on this is accumulation area feeding to this glacier. This is the main glacier. And here also you can see the hollow has been formed in no time. Frontal area, 41.3 meters we had. Now this is almost 2 meters lost in the frontal area. So 5 years of measurements. This is 5 years of measurement that we are looking at. And these are about. Now, 2023, in 5 years, what I see is all these stakes, which were almost 2 meters, drilled into the ice in the accumulation area, is gone. That means surface, we are losing almost 25 to 30 centimeters a year. That's very threatening. The glaciers are becoming smaller, thicker, the thickness is getting lost very fast. And also this snow condition, snow line has not changed much, but what has happened is, if you look at, this is reaching. So once you have the aerosols reaching, snow melts fast, so accumulation for the glaciers to sustain is gone. So our activities are to be looked at, so avalanching can reduce. So for each basin, for Himachal Pradesh and Garhwal, we have looked at in 2 decades, this is what we have lost. percentage lost. Black carbon, as I said, in the village, within the basin which we studied, in nanometer that we have here. So whatever is happening in the village for cooking is captured at the glacier also. So it's very sensitive to look at. Over longer time scale, mass balance has been worked out. And this is what, as I said, I'll show you what is happening with thousands of years of changes. 8,000 years, lakes formed, and today this is what we have today. But today we are losing it much faster than ever. It's very fast. We are taking, we are also monitoring the discharge, how much of water is coming out of it, and how much we have lost already. So these remains are there. As in the keynote, there was reference to Ladakh and all. Ladakh is, Trans-Himalayan area is very critical. Permafrost is getting lost very, very fast. So this permafrost loss is leading to some of the villages sinking, I'll show you. And also fast melting is leading to the formation of lakes and then subsequent disasters which are happening in the areas. The number of globes are going to increase. Our role, this is the developmental role which is reaching the glaciers. So we have to be very concerned what kind of development we do. So this is the development that we have done in the recent years, recent decades. All this dust particulates are reaching. Now, as I said, permafrost is changing, villages are sinking. So higher villages at 3,000 plus meters are just collapsing. So this is one of the examples of village Lindur. And this is what I thought that I'll show you how things are happening. It's very disastrous. In 5 years, I could, it changed my mind. I was looking at quaternary, seeing thousands of years of changes, but here I saw yearly changes in 5 years, drastic changes are taking place. So I believe God must bless us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Milaf, for a very nice presentation. I think it has set the context very clearly for all of us. So now we will begin the panel discussion. And the panel discussion, the glaciers being a very, very huge topic, we would try to focus the discussions around 4 to 5 main themes. One is understanding the impact on glacial retreat. What do the scientific studies tell us about the rate of glacial retreat? Second would be the technological interventions and research need. How can we monitor and measure these changes in a more effective and better fashion? And once we understand these phenomena, the third theme should be about what kind of policy and institutional frameworks are required to manage these changes. And in terms of community participation would be our fourth theme, what kind of adaptation in terms of communities and the ecosystem-based adaptation we should look forward to. And finally, what should be our sustainable water management strategies? Now, with these themes set, I will now move to the panelists for the questions. First, we will begin with Professor Gose, IIT Delhi. The question which is posed to you is, what do the climate models predict about the change in the Himalayan glaciers and how this is going to impact India's water security?
Thank you, Mr. Mittal, and good afternoon to all of you. See, the prediction on the glaciers is being done from the very first report of the IPCC. And there was a time when India had, some of the studies had said that in 30 years, all the glaciers will be gone. So that created a very big UN cry. But at the same time, I think we cannot close our eyes. All the observations which are being made. The glaciers are shrinking, there's no doubt about that. There are some regions where the shrinkage is much faster. There are some where it is slower. But there's hardly any place, barring one or two few areas, where the mass is increasing. I think that is something which is the ground reality. And in our case also, you can see the fragmentation which is taking place. That is also quite obvious that we are losing glaciers, and once they are fragmented, the rate of the loss of mass is much higher. So the question is that this is beyond our reach. Nothing can be done at the local level because global warming is something which we can only participate to reduce the global warming, which we are doing as a country. There's no doubt that we have made commitments which are much more than what was expected from developing nation. But that is something I think we should do that so that we can at least reduce the impact to the extent possible from our contribution. But at the same time, we cannot wish it away. It's going to happen. We can maybe delay it to a certain extent. And there are some, one of our students has done a recent study taking the Dudh-Koshi basin and studying all the glaciers of that. And some of these outcomes which I am just mentioning, she has already seen and proven that. That is actually, these are the two observations. But one thing which was very interesting, which she has found out, that the glaciers, the rate of melting of glaciers, which are having the debris in between, that is much slower than the other glaciers which don't have debris. Yes, if there is aerosol on the top of the surface, yes, it's going to be acting like a black body and then induce the melting much faster. But the debris which is embedded into the glacier, all those glaciers, and these days there are data available where you can see that whether the glacier is having the embedded debris or not. So she has found that all those glaciers are much more stable. Now, can we do it as a mankind, a man-made intervention? It might not be possible. But we can start thinking in terms of, from these kind of studies, that what are the issues which can reduce the melting, slow it down, so that we are prepared. Because I think I'll come down to the other question when we are looking at what are the options available with us. But at this juncture, I think I'll stop here, that there are studies which are being made and there are very beautiful observations which are coming out, and where we can think in terms of how some of these things can be slowed down. We cannot wish them away. It's going to happen maybe by the end of the century or maybe even before. But the way things are, the glaciers are getting fragmented, the small ones are going to be lost much earlier, maybe by the middle of the century or somewhere beyond that. And that's something which is a hard fact. And the rate at which the lowering down, because we were trying as a globe to confine the global warming to 1.5, which has not succeeded. Already we have gone beyond that. Now the next target might be something close to 2 or less, but with 2 degree also, we are going to have implications which are way beyond our expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gossain, for this wonderful insight into the issues about the prediction of the climate change. Now, my next question would be to Dr. Shresh Tayal, who is Head Water Resources DHI. This is more about technology. I mean, how the role of upcoming technologies, whether it is satellite monitoring, whether it is AI, ML, IoT, how are these technologies going to help us in understanding the glaciers, tracking them, and managing them better? What role do you foresee for them?
Thank you, Rajivji. And before that, I will like to first thank Dr. Sarkar, Anshuman, and TERI for giving me this opportunity to participate in this panel. And the question that you have raised is very opportune and very to the point for the given context, that we have to improve our understanding about the mountain glaciers, about the Himalayan glaciers. And in contrast to what the glaciers we have in Himalayas, if we compare it from the Arctics or from the European glaciers, where you can directly fly to the glaciers or you can directly drive up to the glacier, and by the evening you return back to your home, at the warmth of your home, that is not possible here. TERI has been doing a glacier research program. TERI has observatories established all across. And I completely, it is a challenge to reach up to those glaciers. And if you leave from Delhi to the glacier and return back, it takes almost 3 weeks time to return back to the site. I think Milap sir will agree on that perspective. So the point is that it is not possible, and when we have 10,000 glaciers across the Himalayas, in Indian Himalayas, it is not possible to measure and study each one of them individually. And then certainly we have to have the technologies to be applied over there on the glaciers for the study of glaciers, for the measurement of glaciers. And these satellite imageries, we have now very advanced imageries, very high resolution satellite images available. And these imageries can certainly help us in understanding the changes in the extent of the glaciers. So for those glaciers where we do not know anything about them, but we can at least say what is the change in their length or breadth with reference with using these satellites and all. But simultaneously, they have a depth component also, and that is also to be studied and measures. There were some developments related to GRACE satellite data through which we were able to have the third dimension also, but that is also not being applied that much in Himalayan context or in that context. But certainly the modeling techniques are there. There are a lot of very improved models are there, which can predict, which can not predict, but they can simulate, they can set up the physical processes which are governing these, the melt response of these glaciers into your computer platform, and then they can give you quite a lot of information. That may not be 100% to the point, but at least you get some information related to that. And they can certainly improve our understanding about the Himalayan glaciers. So these satellite images and these improved modeling techniques which are there, they can certainly help, and they need to be employed throughout the Himalayan region. And that's how then we can say that yes, we can, because to take any decision, we need to have the improved information. So on which we can rely, on which decision makers like you can rely upon. And that's why we have to employ these techniques, and certainly that can improve our decision making as well as the response that we require for the protection of our glaciers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shrestha, for such an elaborate response. Now my next question would be to Professor Milap. It is just coming from your presentation. What are the major drivers of glacial retreat which you foresee in the Indian Himalayas? And the question which is flowing from this is the next question would be how it is affecting the flow of the various rivers in the Himalayan region.
Thank you. The reasons I have shown you, the aerosols reaching the glaciers. But we have been looking at these aerosols in recent times. As Professor Gosain says, our glaciers are debris covered. The ablation area is totally debris covered. So in debris covered area, the melt is restricted. But what we have seen, when you extend it over thousands of years in millennial scale, these debris turn the glacier into rock glaciers. So slowly the ice will melt because the supply is gone from the accumulation area. So today what we are seeing in the supply area is dust particulates and black carbon reaching. So if this continues unabated, then the potential is that since it can trap the heat faster, if you have 2 degrees as forecast as 2 degrees, 2 degrees of temperature will rise, then these particulates, which are thin particulates, will heat and melt glaciers much faster in the Himalayas. So 2 things. One, debris covered area will turn into rock glaciers. But what we have looked at is we try to look at larger glacier also. One smaller glacier, one is larger glacier, Gangotri.
So Gangotri has been fluctuating over, over 1500 years. 1500 years ago, Gomukh was somewhere at Kirti Bamak, so which was higher, and then it expanded. Now today it is again retreating. So possibly there are cyclic events which are natural, but human role in in increasing the meltwater has to do something with melting of the glaciers, has to do something with the developmental activities also. I've shown you most of the constructions which go in the hydropower, which go in, and most of the vehicles which are coming in, the tourism which have been promoted into these areas can lead to increase in black carbon and dust particulates. But thank God, our nation has already adopted that greening of system. The vehicles will have green fuels, so that will be restricted within next 5 years or so. I hope there's still some, confidence that glaciers will sustain themselves, even if we play. Thank you.
Other part was on the impact on the river flows.
Right. Yes. We have been looking at discharge of the snout. What we see is there is no changes over 10 years of measurement that we have done in the glacier, glacier melt. But what we have to relate is that the size of the ice is also decreasing. So whether it is the size decrease plus the meltwater, which we are seeing no changes. Initially we thought the meltwater will increase because of the rise in temperature. But at the same time, we have the size of the glacier is also decreasing. So meltwater has sustained for decades. There's no much changes. But disasters related to the lakes which are forming in the proglacial area, the frontal areas, these have potential to devastate everything downstream.
Thank you, Professor Milap, for these insights. Now we have covered the diagnosis, we have covered the reasons, and what is the effect we are observing. So now we come to the final part of the problem, what we need to do. So now I would request Mr. Mathuria, a distinguished practitioner from CWC, to basically explain what policy interventions Government of India is looking to tackle glacial retreat as a part of overall water management strategy. And secondly, a related question, how CWC is adapting to the phenomena of changing river hydrology in its various studies.
Thank you, sir. Needless to make one assertion that glaciers have emerged as an area of concern, and this has been recognized by Government of India. Ministry of Jal Shakti is aware of the issue. Few actions have been taken by the government to address the concerns. In fact, the concerns are multifarious. Concerns of glacial melt, maybe due to climate change impact or anthropogenic factors or whatever, is impacting the flows in the river basins. And so it has issues on quantity, temporal availability of the water in different seasons, one. And second, it also has issues related to disaster. So there are two aspects when we talk about melting of the glaciers and consequential impacts. So, and then we found out that this subject is being dealt at R&D level, as well as few pilot studies also being done by various autonomous governmental institutions. So many players, in fact, many players resting with many administrative ministries. So there was lack of coordination. So one steering committee has been formed under Shakti Jal Shakti. Good thing is that it has brought all the stakeholders, whether they are research, people who are into the research, into academics, people who are grounding various actions in different forms. They are on a common platform, and few important issues are discussed there. One important thing that has happened is that number of the glaciers happens to be too large, sir. And there has not been a governmental driven effort to at least inventorize and create a data about glacial mass balance. In particular, glacial mass balance, which is based on field surveys. Very less is happening. Our Geological Survey of India, which has a special division which handles this, they seem not to have entire geographical coverage for the entire country. So our program has been, ambitious program has been conceptualized, bringing in all stakeholders to at least carry out this glacial mass balance. So we got to understand, we know that majority of the glaciers are receding, so we got also to understand that what is exactly happening, how much glacial mass in the accumulation zone, etc. as of now rests. So one issue is this. Second issue is on the aspects related to disasters or adaptation. So see, melt is happening, it is impacting riverine flows, it is leading to formation of glacial lakes, it is even leading to visual trends are there that these lakes are expanding. So a very routine regular program has been launched together with NDMA, together with NDMA and various other agencies. So say for example, Central Water Commission is monitoring 902 glacier lakes on annual basis. Every month they monitor these glacial lakes in terms of their plan area. They publish the reports. They even publish the trend, how these melt phenomena is happening and how these lakes are increasing in size. And this effort is going on since 2011. And after every year, these annual compilations are published and they are e-published and make available to all the stakeholders. So this is like creating a database for various other agencies to look into it from the perspective of disaster. Third is ensuring our infrastructure. Many of our various important infrastructure, for example, dams, bridges, population, etc., are housed on the drainage path of these glaciers. As of now, they have been inventorized. 47 HEPs, hydroelectric projects, are located on the drainage path of these glaciers in India. All they have been studied. How to ensure those projects, whether certain early warning system has to be installed, and if yes, what that early warning system has to be, how to have a specification which is robust and functional in all rough weather conditions as well. That has been evolved together with CDAC, and it is being grounded through a program, a special program launched by NDMA. They have got a sort of funding of 500 crores from Government of India towards that to supplement the states. So these things are also happening. One important thing I'll also like to tell is that way back, about 15 years back, Central Water Commission together with NRSC ventured out to conceptualize an empirical based model to understand glacial runoff contribution in the riverine flow. So 6 sites were studied on a long-term basis. 6 sites, one was in Yamuna Basin at Hatnikund, Bhagirathi, Satluj, Byas and I think Indus as well. So good thing that forecasted runoff matched nicely with observed runoffs in the river systems, one thing. Second, it also led us to the conclusion that non-monsoonal flows at these sites happen to be in a close vicinity about 60% of the entire runoff. So that was a ratio of melt and rainfall. Now what has happened over those years, a recent study from National Institute of Hydrology, it tells us that 2 things are happening. Number one, glacier of smaller size, they are melting at a faster rate, so lesser runoff contribution from the melt off is happening. Number 2, proportionate contribution of rainfall and melt off. Runoff due to rainfall has increased compared to runoff. So that means melt component is decreasing and it could be because of loss of glacier mass. And it is happening in, they studied in Baspa, they studied it in Ganga Basin as well, and Indus as well. More or less consistent findings have emerged out of that study. Although these studies have limited sense of understanding because data appears to be sparse, but at least they give us a feel that contribution due to glaciers, which often is understood that glacial melt will increase, is not happening. Fifth important thing is, so far as riverine flows are concerned, sir, there doesn't appear to be any consistent trend to say that availability of flows in basins which are augmented through glacial runoff is coming down. There is no trend as of now visible. I understand that since it is a long drawn process, such kind of temporal variations would not occur in a very short time span. They need to be studied with greater details, more length of the data needs to be drilled, and then some kind of conclusions could be drawn. So at the best, adaptive strategies and planning to handle consequences of this increased glacial melt has to be put into plan and practice. As I said, Central Water Commission has already incorporated these precautionary principles in its planning process. One, as I've said, looking at glacial melt generated glacial lakes. And in fact, these numbers have been increasing. 2023 inventory of NRSC tells us that as of now, we have 28,043 glacial lakes and water bodies of size more than a quarter of hectares, which was earlier close to 4,000 or so. So this number is increasing. We are also trying to monitor greater number of lakes. Our vision is that we'll increase this monitoring figure from 902 to 2,400, and all these lakes greater than 10 hectares will be covered. Fourth, another important initiative that Central Water Commission has taken is that GLOF studies have been made mandatory part of any dam or reservoir planning exercise, so that these important infrastructure, and this has been learning which came out of 2023 disaster to Tista 3 project which has happened. So GLOF component, how it is to be lumped with the design flood capacities which are used for spillway design, they have been standardized and they have been made mandatory as part of the planning process. And it is also being, all the projects which are located in the vicinity of on the drainage path of glaciers, they are being revisited, their design flood is being reviewed, so that security of these very, very important installations, infrastructure is ensured. I think these are few steps, and then through the steering committee, lot of purpose-driven research is also being guided, and it is steered by Secretary Ma'am herself, our Secretary herself. So on the front of water availability, as I've said, nothing perceptible or conclusive is visible, but Central Water Commission is conscious to come out with more data and then adapt its own policies and program. I'll close here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mathuria, for such a elaborate and a comprehensive response. Now, from where Mr. Mathuria also hinted during his talk about the GLOF. GLOF is emerging as an area of great concern. So, Dr. Milap, here I would like to ask you, I mean, what strategies do you propose or do you advocate to minimize the risk or the damages caused by GLOFs?
Thank you. We have been looking at lakes in Himachal Pradesh that we tried to look at, evaluate, and we found 13 lakes to be potential. Now, lakes are forming on the surface of the glacier. These are very small lakes which form on the glacier, and they normally disappear through moulins. So it will just get out of the system. Is the proglacial and ablation valley lakes which are there. So out of, I think, 238, we evaluated 13, which are potential. Now, once identified, given to the state of Himachal Pradesh, saying that this is what is threatening, I think monitoring and dewatering is one mechanism that can be done. It's not very expensive to dewater these, because these are mostly proglacial lakes. So when you have proglacial lakes, it results into faster melting of the ice. So dewater it, get it out. Your glaciers are, much safer. But no initiative is coming up. I tried to rope in the retired people also, retired officers of the region. I said, you contribute few thousand, maybe 5,000 each, so we need 50,000 for each of the lakes to dewater through pipes, and that will be a contribution. But again, their age doesn't permit them to come together, nothing has come. So I think we have all the potential to monitor and to dewater and manage these lakes. You know, now the new technology of drones are there, early warning system is there. So I think nation is capable of taking care of this.
Now, Professor Gosai, I will come to you. I mean, besides the sort of something which is directly affecting us, like in form of glove, what scientific mitigation you recommend for dealing with the river flows and the groundwater recharge because of the glacial retreat?
Yes, I think that is a very, very important question, and I'll try to present the bigger picture. See, we are all accepting that in the long run, then the glacier melt is taking place. There might be a small period when you'll have more flow coming into the river, but as the mass is also reducing, so the flow might be stabilizing. But in the long run, we have to be prepared that the low flows which we have been getting from the glacier and the snow melt, they are not going to be available. And what does it mean at the basin level? That all our diversions which we are making for irrigation, for other water usage, they might not be available to us. So we have no other mechanism but to ensure that there are some storages which are built, which can capture the water, which can be equivalent to what was being made available by the glacier melt, which can be released to really have a sustainability in our present system. At the same time, our requirements are going to go up because the higher the temperatures, higher is the evapotranspiration. So your crops will need more water, and majority of your crops which need a supplementary irrigation, because another impact of the climate change is that your number of days of rainy days are going to reduce, which also imply that your concentration of the rainfall is going to be higher. The rainfall intensities are going to be higher, which is already which are becoming prevalent and is quite apparent. Many of the areas are getting floods which are much bigger. So if that is the situation, then your rain-fed agriculture, which is still around 50% and more in the country, is not going to be sustainable. So that is quite a big question mark, and the possible impact of the climate change. It might not require, because the rain pattern is going to be different, is going to have more period between the two rainfalls, and the crop is not going to sustain the moisture which is available in the soil. So supplementary irrigations will be required, which means that your storages are going to come into picture. And though all of us who have the environmental bent up, we feel that storages are not good, but you might not have that as an option. You might have to depend in the long run on storages, which are the water at your disposal, to be used very judiciously. There's no other mechanism but to use all the mechanisms to reduce your demand by doing the demand management. And I don't think that the rainwater harvesting is the only option. That is an option which is not very good if you overdo it. So if you overdo the rainwater harvesting, you are damaging all the existing projects. Because the water which is supposed to go to those projects, those big reservoirs, is not going to reach if you overdo the rainwater harvesting through the watershed management approach. So I think as a country, we have a requirement to define for each basin what is the maximum extent of watershed management we should allow. Beyond that, and that trade-off has to be found out on the basin, the characteristics of the basin, that will define that how much rainwater harvesting is permissible in that basin. Having done that, the only other option which you have as a society is to do the demand management, whether it's for agriculture. In agriculture, our present efficiency of water use is around 30-35%. We can easily take it to 60%, which will mean that you have almost double the quantity of water which is available at your disposal. That is the only way where you have to invest in that. If the farmers are not able to afford that, you have to provide subsidies to the farmers so that they can adopt the other more efficient mechanisms of irrigation. Similarly, at the other usage level, whether it's domestic or industrial, you have to do the reuse of water. If you are generating sewage at the city level, it has to be treated and you have to use it for non-potable purposes. That is the only way forward for the country, and that has to be done for every basin, even including those basins which are not having any glacier melt, and because we have lot many basins which are not having this good fortune of getting the glacier and the snow melt. There also the same mechanism has to be used. And groundwater monitoring, groundwater utilization is very, very important, because many things which are happening because of the groundwater being mined and over abstracted is not even visible. If you look, and that is not possible to understand unless you look at the surface water groundwater interaction. So we had done that while doing the Ganga River Basin Management Plan, where we had seen that doing the hydrological modeling and the groundwater modeling simultaneously, we have found that there are many stretches of Ganga Basin, the Ganga River system, which are losing water to the groundwater because the groundwater has gone so down that there is a reversal of gradient from the river to the groundwater because of the groundwater falling so down. So that is something which is hampering your biodiversity. You cannot talk of environmental flows even if I release something at Hatningund now, and Yamuna is not going to reach Delhi because all the water is going to be lost in Haryana where the water table is so low. So I think we have to look at the health of these systems, which will include all the aspects, the hydrological health as well as the environmental health of our river basins. That is something which we'll have to take up and start making policies which are dependent on the monitoring of these healths of these basins and then regulating them through the better legislations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gosien, for these words of wisdom. And I fully agree. I mean, the water needs a systems approach. We can't have a piecemeal approach in dealing with each issue, whether it is a glacial issue, whether it is a groundwater, whether it is a river. So unless one follows the full water cycle with a systems approach, we will act only on the half of the problem and the other half will get perhaps aggravated. Now, moving to the next point, one of the important thing which is emerging in states like Uttarakhand, while Himalayas offer the greatest opportunities for hydroelectricity generation, it is also the storehouse of our glaciers, and it is also a seismically very active zone. So, Professor Milab or maybe Dr. Shrestha would like to answer this. How do we balance the need for the hydroelectric power vis-a-vis the glacial preservation?
Yeah, we both care. Run of the river is what we have been talking about, yeah? Whether it is Uttarakhand, Himachal, or in Sikkim. So wherever we going for, run of the river is what is the need of the hour. Otherwise, there can be disasters, as we have been seeing that if you construct a reservoir in area which is glaciated, so it's going to evaporate, and there is secondary, rainfall on the peaks. So that rainfall can again lead to melting of the ice. So that also is to be connected. Yeah. So second peak mechanism of rainfall in the mountains. So I think run of the river is the need of the, and we have to have the green energies, no doubt about it.
Thank you. And the question that you mentioned about how to balance the glacier and the hydropower requirement. So I completely agree with this thing, that the hydropower is very much important for the country, for transitioning towards the green economy. So that is very important. But how to balance it is the question, and that the point is that we can have a more eco-sensitive approach in the construction of these dams. But simultaneously, there is a concept related to, I think I will refer to the TERI's discussion paper, which it brought, I think, a couple of years back, Dr. Sakar, and it was on glacier vulnerability assessment. And that concept was promoted through that discussion paper. And all of these dams, they need to be careful about what is happening to the cryosphere upstream, which is feeding to their reservoir, or whether they are the run of the river project or whichever they are. And to study those, to have an understanding about the glacier vulnerability assessment, how they are melting, how their volume is changing, how the water content over there is changing, how the local environment is changing, that is also very important to be studied. And the point is that we have to think globally, no doubt about that because the global warming is something which is happening and it is bound to happen. But there are a lot of measures which can be taken at the local scale also, and these dam companies can invest something, can help in that, in the sense that if I say, like most of these river basins, glacier basins, they are, some of these are pilgrim sites, and millions of pilgrims, they visit these sites every year. And all of this has an impact on the local setting of the nature which is existing over there. Some of these are famous as a tourist sites, and we can take some eco-sensitive approach, eco-sensitive ecotourism, and these kind of activities that can certainly be taken up. And one more thing that Mr. Mutharia was mentioning about the early warning system. So these are very important to have these early warning system. Now the CWC is coordinating that activity, and then the government has made it mandatory. But simultaneously, we also need to look into because early warning systems are applicable when the flood has already generated upstream. So these dam structures, these dam companies, they have to be prepared about before the flood is occurring. So the flood forecasting systems are there, which are required to be created, which are required to be established for what is happening upstream, what is happening to the cryosphere, how the snowfall is changing over there, and we need to take all of these into account. So the main point will be that all across the country, we are preparing a river basin management plan. Professor Gosai will highlight that, river basin management plan. So now the need is to prepare basin-specific glacier management plans. And we can select 20-25 basins, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, all these. And we can develop basin-specific approaches, considering the human interventions which are taking place in each of these sub-basins, and that is something that we can do. And I will in fact, with NMCG Director General, you being here, I will mention about this point that because for the one of the mission of the NMCG is about the Aviral Dhara and Nirmal Dhara. So Aviral Dhara means maintaining the continuity of river flow. So probably you can take a lead on promoting this Aviral Dhara concept also, and through which the organizations like TERI, DHI, and IIT, with the coordination from CWC, we can develop some more kind of specific models through which we can highlight, we can improve our understanding and help in development of these basin-specific glacier management plans. So that's what I will like to mention. Thank you.
Thank you for such innovative ideas while answering this question. I think this forum will take note of the suggestions, and whatever approaches you have suggested, I think may be factored as a part of policy recommendations. Now, coming to the final question for this session. Mr. Mathuria, I will pose two issues before you. One is the traditional ecological knowledge, and second is the local communities. How do we utilize this strength in terms of local communities managing, contributing towards glacial preservation? And along with that, how to use this local knowledge to further strengthen this initiative?
Sir, very well said. In fact, local knowledge, traditional ecosystem knowledge, etc., is very important. I'll supplement this question by giving few examples. Certain initiatives were taken towards instrumentation of few glaciers in Sikkim, way back about 6-7 years back. And a lot of resistance from the local community came in. They in fact revere these glaciers. They are seen as having some kind of spiritual, powers, and they are revered as gods in the local tribal communities. So that resistance ultimately led to entire pilot project not performing to the objective set in. So taking these local communities, taking their help is very, very important. Number two, wherever interventions by institutions, including government, has been grounded for management of the glaciers, it has been made possible only through the community involvement. Now, why do we wish to manage these glaciers? I think more important, in fact more important than hydropower, happens to be water security. Traditional knowledge, for example, a very good example can be ice or snow stupas of Ladakh or Leh. That is one traditional knowledge that is being multiplied, that is being made more prevalent only with the sole objective of providing water security to the community for drinking water as well as for irrigation. And there have been examples which in fact document the benefit that come out of these very benign kind of innovations, which ultimately leads to strengthening of the community, augmenting their livelihood, as well as providing a very important water security to these communities. And then, sir, Atal Bhujal Yojana, which largely looks at community-driven groundwater augmentation measures, which has very strong IEC component in it. It is based on giving leverage, accelerating these community-driven traditional knowledge itself, and this Yojana itself has been a great success. It promotes, obviously, as was also mentioned by Bharat Lal sir during his speech, water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, localized harvesting of water as a resource from the prime input, which is rainfall. So these innovative as well as traditional knowledge, which often has been lost during this process of development, which has been largely textbook driven, has led to those gaps, and it will lead to bridging those gaps. So they happen to be very important. But I'll, if you allow me, I'll like to come to the previous question, and I'll make a very brief observation on that. I think, sir, rather than hydropower, water security is very important. When we say how to strike a balance between glacier preservation or glaciers and hydropower development, or per se, water resources projects, this run of the river kind of the projects, they have played a great havoc in upper valleys. Bumper to bumper planning of the project and execution of the projects have led to the river flowing into the tunnels. Main river system remain devoid of the water, number one. Number two, lack of understanding of the processes involved in glacier melting and consequential impacts have led to lack of adaptive strategies and interventions in these structures, which we often see in various kind of structures. For example, recently in Chamoli, we had that avalanche which caused devastation in existing projects. So that is another issue. Had there been a basin-centric storage project in each basin, complemented with other smaller interventions, it would have given greater leverage to the society, both in terms of water security and ensuring the basin against all kind of disastrous consequences. A very beautiful example I'll quote, sir. Had there been no TERI, we would not have been seeing twice the flows during monsoon season, non-monsoon season, which we find in river Ganga, and which we see that such things should happen in Yamuna. And it's not happening in Yamuna because there is no storage in Yamuna, which can store the rainwater, enormous amount of rainwater, and provide that rainwater with regulated kind of releases to the Yamuna, which will ultimately help not only the quality aspects, in fact, which will lead to river development, also which will also lead to the resource development. So probably this thesis has to be more conceptualized through policy interventions. That's it, sir. I'll contribute and stop here. Thank you.
So I would like to thank all our esteemed panelists for their valuable insight. Professor Gosen, Dr. Shresth, Professor Milapchand, and Mr. Mathuria for their valuable insights. Each of them is a stalwart in their area, whether it is research, whether it is a practice, or whether it is the implementation strategy. One thing which is emerging very clearly from the today's discussion is that it is not only an environment concern now. The glacial issues are becoming a critical for the water security from the disaster point of view and of course from the sustainable development point of view. So as we move forward, there are certain areas we have to focus on. But before I move on to the final part of this thing, I would just like to add 2 points in terms of my experience, what I have seen and which have not been covered in today's discussion. So when we talk of glacial preservation, I think it is very important that it's high time that India also starts adopting the concept of ecosystem services valuation. When we talk of such big systems, whether it is the river Ganga, whether it is Himalayas, and we talk of that they need to be preserved, so there is a price which somebody is paying for it. So unless that factor, that entity is adequately compensated, there is a very little incentive for that entity to take wholehearted efforts. And this is very visible when you look for hydroelectric power. States like Uttarakhand and Himachal, they say that is their main source of development. If they are not allowed to build these hydroelectric powers for the preservation of glaciers or for the flow in Ganga river, how are they going to be compensated for it? So this system, this dialogue has to increase. And globally, it is an accepted practice that we go for ecosystem service valuation and try to compensate the loser against the winner. So this dialogue also equally applies to when we talk about the glaciers and should be advocated. Second, one small point regarding the hydroelectric powers, runoff river. Runoff river is a very abused term now, I will say that. If you look into it, the way the runoff river projects are being deployed and how they are being operated and how they are being manipulated, I mean, there is also a need in terms of studies to sort of qualify what kind of runoff river projects we advocate. A blanket runoff river is not really advocated. And coupled with the term of e-flows, I mean, these projects sometimes are creating havocs for the society as a general. So there is a need to have some kind of studies in terms of when we advocate runoff river, with what qualifications these projects should come and how they should be monitored. And same thing applies for the e-flow also. This is something coming out of the practical experience, which I thought I would try to add value to the academic discussion here. Now coming to the closing part of our discussion, I mean, we had a great panel discussion today, and it is very clear the issues, the recommendations which are coming out very clearly that we have to enhance research in these areas. A lot of it is still unknown. We still know a very small part of it. Much of it is still uncovered. So the technology part has to be strengthened, and the new technologies have to be brought in to see how to understand better in terms of research and monitoring. Second point which is coming, government is doing a lot, but still the policy framework, the implementation plan has also needs to be strengthened with concrete steps and specific measures. And third thing, in terms of the changes which we are foreseeing in terms of the glacial effects, we need to build our strategies around that, foreseeing those changes. So all the climate, all the water management strategies have to be adapted, keeping in mind the effect of the future effect of the glacial retreats. And finally, fourth, the last and most important, we have to have community participation, and we have to use the traditional knowledge when we move forward this. Now, even from somebody pointed out about the National Mission for Clean Ganga, that Namami Gange should also get into more glacial studies. I completely agree. And I assure you that we are fully committed for the Integrated Glacial Commission. As along, we have good proposals, we support them. We have certain studies which we have carried out, and we are committed to carry out more studies. So with this, I would like to call this session to a close with a clear call to all the policymakers, all the implementers, all the academicians, that this is a sensitive issue. This is an issue which requires more probe, more depth, and let's work with a pledge on a water day to take this issue in more earnest way for the future action. Thank you.
Thank you, our esteemed speakers, Professor A.K. Ghosen, Dr. Shresh Dayal, Professor Milab Chand Sharma, Mr. D.P. Mathuria, and Shri Rajiv Kumar Mittal. Now, I would like to request Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General, the Energy and Resources Institute, to felicitate Shri Rajiv Kumar Mittal, sir. I would also request Vibha Dhawan ma'am to please felicitate Dr. Shresh Dayal. And Professor Milab Chand Sharma. I would request Vibha Dhawan ma'am. I would request Dr. S.K. Sarkar to please felicitate Professor A.K. Ghosen. Milab. And Mr. D.P. Mathuria. Let us I request all the panelists to please take a group photograph. Okay. Let us take a short tea break and networking. Kindly be seated in the hall within 10 minutes as we proceed to one of the most anticipated moments of the event, the Water Sustainability Award ceremony.